Hey, hey, hey! Good afternoon, everybody! Welcome to One Voice Radio, the broadcast arm of One Voice magazine, where we discuss stories of hope, unity, and transformation. You can easily find One Voice magazine at onevoicemagazine.com. My name is Janina, and we are streaming live from the UCAP studio.
And hi guys, thank you for tuning in. My name is Joyce and I'll be Ate Janina's co-host for today.
I'm so happy that you're with me.
I am
really
too.
Alright.
It makes me less nervous that you're here, Ate Jan.
It makes me less nervous that you're with me. All right. Okay, so One Voice Radio is in partnership with UCAP Radio and TBN Asia, where we are also streaming live, and as well as TBN Philippines. Okay, so we would like to acknowledge Light TV as a media partner and OMF Literature as one of our sponsors. In fact, they are our book sponsors for this afternoon.
And for today, just to give you guys a heads up, we'll be giving books, okay?
Yeah.
And to make it more interesting, the first person to share our stream on both our Facebook magazine at One Voice magazine, on UCAP Radio Facebook page, on TBN Asia Facebook page, and on TBN Philippines Facebook page, will get to have a book.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. So wait, don't just leave your post. You watch us till the end, okay? All right. Okay, One Voice Magazine has a group page on Facebook where we share what God is doing in our lives and in society. So come and be a part of it. Just type One Voice Magazine group. We talk about stories that give hope, stories that inspire transformation, and stories that unite us. Yes, and you can also share personal testimonies. All right. So, who? Okay, in every segment, in every episode that we do, we have what we call a spoonful of manna, where we discuss our topic for the day. Okay,
Yeah.
and so for today, it is breakthrough in public speaking. And public speaking, it's a terrifying thing. In fact, right now, this is considered public speaking. Okay,
Yeah.
and the
Although,
crowd.
although there's no crowd here, but most definitely there are crowds watching us right now. So yeah, this is still public speaking and it's still very nerve-wracking, guys.
Yes. So anyway, when it comes to fears, number one in the ranking of fears worldwide is public speaking. Joyce, what are your fears? Does public speaking rank number one, or do you have other fears?
I have other fears, but that's a really tough question, Ate Jan. If I were to answer honestly, I think two things. Not being able to try the things that I want to try because I'm very adventurous. And another would have been being left out probably. But I think public speaking is still part of it because every time, I mean, I grew up in the church, and sometimes if you grew up in a church, you get to speak in front of a lot of people, especially if for me, I used to teach our School of Discipleship course, and I would teach people in our church, but every time that I would stand up in front, it's still as nerve-wracking as it is right now.
Yeah, and it's normal to feel nervous. It is. It is. All right. For me, when it comes to fears, aside from public speaking, yeah, I'm really an introvert at heart, and when this came to me, I was like, okay, what have I gotten myself into? But we roll with the punches, and when God says, hey, you're in media, go and speak to the crowd, then you do that. And in the Bible, we actually have somebody, a character, a pretty well-known character, who gave a lot of excuses when God was telling him to go to Israel, let my people, say something to let Pharaoh to let my people go. All right, and this person already gave a lot of clues because I said Pharaoh and Israel and Moses. So the character I'm talking about is Moses. All right, so Moses, according to Acts 7:22, he was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. Okay, so a lot of times people really, when they imagine Moses, they see in their minds Charleston Heston. Although we're young. And that movie was in the time of our parents, I guess, no? Unless you have watched the Ten Commandments.
That's
Okay.
the really old movie, right,
Really
Ate
old
Jan?
movie, yeah. And Charleston Heston is this like really muscular dude, and he speaks with a loud voice. Let my people go, Pharaoh, let my people go. Okay, and in Acts 7:22, Moses was educated in all of the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. However, this was not always the case, especially after he was exiled. He imposed a self-exile upon himself when he killed this Egyptian fellow who was hurting a Jew, hurting an Israelite. No? There was something going on, and he decided to step in. He was like, hey, I'm the leader of this place. I am going to step in. And you know how it is like with destiny. Sometimes you already have clues. Yeah, and I bet Moses had this clue that he was going to be the deliverer of Israel. And so he hits this Egyptian, and the Egyptian dies. And the next day, when he starts talking to the Hebrews, and he finds out that the Hebrews know about what he did, he gets scared. And so he goes off to the wilderness, and while there, he has sheep. He leads sheep, okay? He becomes a shepherd. And he does this for a staggering 40 years.
40 years, wow.
40 years, yeah. And so the only time when the burning bush comes into the picture, Moses is already 80 years old. Yeah. So you'd really think that, okay, he's past his prime. If he had any notions of giving this really great speech to Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go, it's blown away.
Yeah,
okay.
most definitely. Probably the 40 years also paved the way for him to realize that, his speech is gone, and now
Yeah.
God is calling him to speak up. Like,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, just imagine that, 40 years, and you're talking to who? Sheep, okay? They're not exactly the best public speaking audience that you can have, but hey, I think it's a good practice to, like, just talk to someone.
There's something about talking to there's something about being a shepherd that makes people, look at David, sheep, shepherd, right?
Yeah, and here you have Moses, who was also a shepherd. Okay, and he goes to the tents of Midian, no? That's where he meets his beautiful wife. Okay, so anyway, it is no wonder, therefore, that after 40 years, when he is finally called by Yahweh, he says this. Okay, Moses said to the Lord, this is found in Exodus 4:10. Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. Now, this is so different from the Acts 7 description of Moses. And we know that the Bible is correct, Old Testament and New Testament. So here is Moses, learned, okay, who is eloquent. And yet, he says, after 40 years of being in the desert, he says, I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech. And so now, instead of the Charleston Heston dude saying, let my people go, you have a picture of Moses who is what?
Stuttering.
He stutters, he stammers. And so here you have someone like he is not at all the prime candidate for giving public speeches to a nation, to the Hebrews, two nations, actually Egypt also, no? And yet God calls him, and I love that God is the kind of God who chooses the weak things. And many times He really allows us to go through this humbling process, so that when He uses us mightily, we cannot boast on our own strength. And this kind of thing had to happen to Moses. So in 1 Corinthians 1:27 to 29, it says this, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no man may boast before Him. Yeah, all right. And yet, we remember that the faculty of speech is actually a God-given gift.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, one of the best thing that God gave us actually, the
Yeah.
power of speaking up.
Yeah. And so even if we say, Lord, I am weak in speaking, or like Moses, Lord, I'm slow, slow in speech. All right. We have to remember that God is actually the giver of our mouths and the giver of speech. And so if we lack something, if we need the strength, we can just go to Him. Okay, I love that the Lord actually answers Moses when Moses gives that utterance. And he says, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? So you have the Lord speaking here and saying, wait a minute, you know what? That faculty, that organ, if you will, that you use to speak, I'm the one who gave it to you, and I'm the one who gives you the power of speech. So if I am the maker, then don't you think I can empower you to speak?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff, no, Joyce?
Yeah, and it also goes to show that if God calls you to do something, even if you feel like you're not qualified, um, there's no such thing as not qualified. I remember there was this
Yes.
quote that says, when you feel like you're the most unqualified person, then that's a good thing because that's usually where God starts.
Yes. Precisely.
Right?
Yeah, and if you think about it, Joyce, like, would you say that, like, if you were, and again, a hypothetical question, if you were God, okay, would you choose you to be a co-host? Would you, it's like, Lord, would you choose me? Right? It's like he chooses the
That's definitely that's a really tough question, Ate Jan. I'm asking myself why am I here? But yeah, God chooses whom He chooses.
yeah, whom he wants to choose. And the beautiful thing about God is he doesn't make a mistake in his choice of people. And he did not make a mistake in choosing Moses. And I dare say, the 40 years of having all these sheep helped him in terms of dealing with stubborn people, rebellious people. So nothing is ever wasted in the kingdom. If God takes you to a process, go through that process. It's good for you, and it will lead to whatever huge destiny that God has for you. All right, so whew. That was a lot of things to say. Okay, now I'll just read something from my notes. Self is crucified so that Christ may be revealed in power. Your weaknesses are an asset to make Christ glow and grow in you. Okay, so if you have weaknesses, don't let your weaknesses stop you. Just give them to the Lord and say, God, this is my weakness. Can you do something out of this? And, just a really personal take on this now, because one of the things I do outside of speaking in front of you right now, okay, is that I write. And writing takes the faculty of the eyes, eyesight. And I'm actually partially blind. And so here I find that God has used that weak part of me and developed it to as a strength, to develop it, and I find that I am using my eyes a lot. And it blesses a lot of people that I am writing with my eyes open, that I actually can commute, even if I have certain little accidents, but that's for another episode, but but yeah, so again, no, we cannot say to God, God, this is my weakness, and pull ourselves out of the destiny. Like we disqualify ourselves. No, that doesn't work. Because God, He likes it. He likes it when we go to Him, and He likes it when He says, you know what, my power will make you strong, and I will use that weakest part of you to further my kingdom.
Amen. You can preach, Ate Jan. No, but really, one of the things that I love most about this story was recently when I joined, or when I tried the in Christ image training, and when Francis Frangipan said something about, you know what, never in the Word of God did it state that God healed Moses of his stutter.
Yeah.
So imagine having to stand in the most powerful human of your era. Like imagine having to stand before Donald Trump or I don't know.
Even more, the Egyptians, according to literature, the Egyptians saw the Pharaoh as the son
Of
of
God,
You know,
yeah.
they had the sun God, kasi, son, S-U-N. The son of the S-U-N,
Yeah. And imagine having the responsibility to deliver millions of people. Imagine his terror. But that did not stop him from saying what God wanted him to say. So he was like, Pharaoh, my people go. But then again, our power lies not in our ability to speak, but on the power of the words that we are speaking.
Yes, yes. And it's God who gives us the power. He infuses our words with power. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, you know what? I have with me right now the story of Reza Luterio. And it's you can find this story in onevoicemagazine.com,
Mm-hmm.
and it's entitled The Shy Storyteller, because this is about someone, Razel, whom God used, an introvert, an incredible introvert, God used to be a campus minister. All right, so let me read this. I am an introvert. I don't like the thought of people looking at me. I feel awkward when I must make eye contact with another person. I get anxious when I'm surrounded by so many people, regardless if they're familiar or not. I rarely initiate conversations, and there are times when I prefer not to initiate talking at all. I had to participate in declamation contests and impromptu speeches back in elementary and high school, not because I volunteered to do so, but because I was tasked to. I'd follow my family and teachers' advice to use my imagination and transform the crowd into potato sacks so I wouldn't feel that nervous. I just laugh a bit. Did you ever try imagining the crowd as something, as an object, just to calm your nerves?
I haven't tried that actually.
Okay.
But I think, I don't know, some people do try it.
All right. Okay, so I'll continue with the story. College came. It was bigger, more overwhelming world.
Mhm.
My blockmates came from different schools, had different personalities and preferences. I don't have to blend in, I thought to myself. I can stay here in my safe corner with a friend or a few friends. But I was already a follower of Jesus then. As his follower, his call for me is to fish for people by preaching the gospel and helping them follow him. I used to think that one should be an extrovert and a good communicator to win souls for Christ. I didn't have those qualifications. 4 months into the first semester of my first year in college, I was prompted by the Holy Spirit to share the gospel to two of my roommates. I was hesitant, shy, and scared. But the promptings were so strong that I chose to break through the fear anyway. After attending a Sunday service, I got my notebook and wrote a script just for me to have a guide on what to say to them. These two were the first people that I shared the gospel to who weren't family members. 10 years after that day, I can say that my two friends are still involved and connected to a local church, serving and making disciples. I thought that preaching the gospel to my two friends was enough until God led me to preach to our whole class at school. Doesn't that happen, Joyce? It's like a gradation of the next level. It's like, okay, you're done with this, you passed this, go, bigger crowd. All right. Unbelievable. I could barely gather my courage for my two friends. How much more for my whole class? I found myself meditating on these verses one morning. But Moses said to the Lord, "Oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue." And the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak."
Mm-hmm.
Exodus 4:10-12. So this is actually the verse that we touched
That we
on
were
a while
talking
ago.
about earlier.
Yeah. I had my Moses moment right there. The statement that Moses said to God when he was told to go to Pharaoh was the very statement I uttered to God that morning. I am not eloquent either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant. God responded to me the way he responded to Moses. Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. Just like Moses. Moses made a few more attempts to change God's mind in choosing him. Just like Moses, I tried to bargain with God, too. He could always pick someone who's eloquent and who's not slow in speech, but he also chooses what is weak in the world to shame the strong and to display his glory and strength. So this is the point that we had a while ago, no, Joyce? Okay, I was always the girl behind the laptop. I want to stop and go, me too. Creating and clicking the PowerPoint slides, but by God's grace and by the power of the Holy Spirit, I conquered my fear and shared the gospel to my blockmates.
Wow.
I did this while I reported in class for the very first time. Each of us had the task to discuss a canto from the Inferno by Dante Alighieri. I thought that if I were given the opportunity to talk about hell in front of people, then why not talk about Jesus and heaven?
Mm-hmm.
After that report, one of my classmates approached me and asked if I was a Christian. From that point, I was able to connect him to a church community. Since that day, I finally understood that my introversion and my faith didn't have to go against each other. I understood that it's not my personality, my notes, my communication skills, nor my courage that would allow me to speak in front of friends or in front of a crowd. It's the Holy Spirit who gives me the power to speak and be a bold witness for Jesus. Acts 1:18. In 2017, 3 years after college, God called me to teach college students at the De La Salle Health Sciences Institute. I preached the gospel to the 32 students in my class at that time, and a number of them surrendered their lives to Jesus that day. Praise God! God also gave me opportunities to speak in front of parents and teachers in seminars as part of my former profession as a speech therapist. God then called me to full-time campus ministry, and now, I have preached at a youth camp and a campus retreat. I've also conducted trainings, hosted at campus outreach events, exhorted during services and prayer meetings with 50 to 100 plus people, and more. I used to dread small talk, but God made me see that small talk is a way to build relationships with people and eventually introduce Jesus to them. I still feel butterflies in my tummy when I'm about to stand in front. I still get a little anxious and nervous in the middle of crowds. But for some amazing reason, I have realized that I enjoy talking to people now. Be it on a one-on-one or a setup with small groups or big groups. I'm more courageous than before, knowing that I have the greatest story to tell everyone, and I have the Holy Spirit working in me and speaking through me. It is such a humbling and beautiful privilege to be used by God to tell His story for His glory. So this is Razel Lutero, modern Moses, a young modern Moses. Okay, so Joyce, how do you feel like listening to the story, having read it yesterday, or was it this morning? How do you feel with it?
It's actually really encouraging, and at the same time, somewhat I can relate because there's a different kind of feel when you want to share the gospel to other people. It's actually terrifying because the first thing that would pop in your mind is, what if they would reject me, right? And I remember there was this story that I had before. Every day I would pray, Lord, bring me to someone who needs you today.
That's a good prayer. Guys, copy that prayer.
So there was this one time that I would pray that every day, and so if I would see someone in the streets and I would just feel, give this guy money, then I would give the guy money, or go talk to that person, or help that person cross the street, sometimes if it's an old lady, ganyan. But then there was this one time that I was praying that prayer, and then I'm near our house na and nothing happened. And I was so frustrated because during that time, my emotions were really overwhelmed. I want to share the gospel, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I had the courage to do it. And then I rode the jeepney, and for some reason that time, sobrang puno ng jeep. Like there's a lot of people on the streets. I don't know, baka nasira yung LRT or whatnot. So while I was in the jeepney, an old lady, um, sumakay siya, and wala na siyang maupuan. And me being the, because I like helping out people, I guess. So what I did is I gave my seat to her, and then umupo ako sa aisle ng jeepney, and I was wearing skirt that day. And then when I was in that moment, I told myself, Joyce, if you will not do this, I mean, you kept on praying for God to bring you to someone, but if you will not have the courage to do it, you will not have the courage forever.
Wow, that's a challenge. Huh?
Yeah, I really challenged myself that time. And then, there in the middle of the jeepney, with my skirt on, in the aisle, I said, alam ko po lahat tayo pagod at yung iba po siguro bad trip na dahil traffic. And then, I just go ahead. I mean, I shared the gospel to the people in the jeepney. And during that time, I'm not sure if someone received it or not, but Ate Jan, grabe, the feeling, even right now, as I'm looking back into that moment, the feeling it's so good. It's after sharing the gospel, when I went down on that jeep, I really felt like I was on cloud nine. That's how good it was. That's the experience of being able to share the love of God to other people. And sometimes all you need to do, or all you need is just that one moment of courage.
Yes, and you decide. No? You decide to say yes to the proddings. And
Yeah.
you go, yes, Lord, I'm going to do this, even if I will look like a fool. I mean, not all people do jeepney evangelism, okay?
That was one time.
That was one time. I actually know someone else who also did something similar. He felt the Holy Spirit prodding him, and he also shared the gospel in the jeepney. Okay, so you can be like Joyce, you can be like Razel also. God will give you the burden to share the gospel. And for Razel, what did she do? I found it cute that she actually wrote what she was going to say. Practice muna. Just
Yeah.
like us right now. We have scripts actually. So practice muna. I mean, it's normal to be nervous, but again, if you feel the proddings of the Holy Spirit, obey, and yeah. There will be a reward when you step out in faith and open your mouth. Actually, I have a similar story with yours, but mine didn't happen in a jeep. Mine happened in CCP, of all places. It was a public poetry reading, and I read my poem, and I felt God just say, tell them about me. And I'm
Wow.
like, Lord, there's so many. So anyway, what I did was I swallowed whatever fear I had, and I went ahead and I related my poem to God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, moments like that where God really allows us to feel the choice. Huh? Like, are you gonna open up your mouth and tell people about Him or not? Okay. So, all right. Joyce, what insecurities do you battle when you speak? When you have public speaking opportunities?
Okay, actually, a person who talks a lot. So probably one of the things that I battle is speaking too much. Because sometimes I have a lot of thoughts, and I end up blurting out everything without really organizing my thoughts. So parang it's all over the place. That's why it's really good that we have a script. Because if we don't,
Okay, it's like
if we don't,
Our little-
baka sumegway na ako everywhere.
okay. Yeah. You mentioned that you are an extrovert. So as an extrovert, do you feel like it's so natural for you? Like you have a microphone, a stage, like you'd rather talk in front than hide yourself in the room. Are you like that?
Not really. I am an extrovert, but if I have a choice, I would rather be on the backstage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in our church, I'm part of our creatives ministry, so we're like at the backstage. What you see on the screen, we're the one who does that, ganyan. but before I really have that attitude where I want to be heard.
Okay.
Like I feel like I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, and I think that I want to just speak it out so people can hear it. But then there came a time when I realized that not everything needs to be said. So
Yes.
if our pastor taps me and tells me, "Hey, you need to speak up," then that's fine with me. But not so much that I want to be in the stage.
Okay, okay. I'm going to pick a quote from Raisel's story because this is a really important quote, no?
Mm-hmm.
Since that day, I finally understood that my introversion and my faith didn't have to go against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, mga fellow introvert katulad ko, you know, we don't have to let our introvert version
Mm-hmm.
and our faith go against each other because they don't. They don't, you know. Okay, and the next sentence, I understood that it's not my personality, my notes, my communication skills, nor my courage that would allow me to speak in front of
Mm-hmm.
friends or in front of a crowd. It's the Holy Spirit who gives me the power to speak and to be bold. That's amazing. It's one of those things that you can actually immerse yourself. That quote, because it's true. It's true. It's not your personality. It's not your notes. It's not your amount of ease in front of a microphone or a camera. you know. But it really is God.
Mm-hmm.
If you allow yourself to be that vessel to contain the Holy Spirit's movement in your life, then yeah, you have no reason not to share the gospel. And I believe that the Great Commission is for everybody, not just for the extroverts or those who have ease on stage.
Yeah.
It's also for those who are just behind their laptops or those who like keeping quiet like me. Okay, so there, fantastic stuff. All right, so you know what? Since we're on the subject of speaking, one of the things that I want us to remember and something that we can also share with you is that it's so important to speak life.
Mm-hmm.
No? If God opens up an avenue for you to publicly speak to a crowd, choose your words, speak life. There's already so much negativity going around here, around the world, on Facebook, other forms of social media. It's so important that you go counterculture in this sense and just speak life, speak the wisdom of heaven, speak the things that will draw people to the Lord. And remember that it's a matter of using your mouth also to glorify God. Because imagine if God gives you the skill to
Mm-hmm.
speak publicly, or He infuses you with the boldness to speak publicly, why will you waste your time in speaking something that is of nonsense, when you can actually glorify the Lord with your mouth? Right? So speak life. Okay. All right. So, that being said, that's like a huge mouthful.
It is. I feel full right now.
Really? Okay. Well, we still have more than an hour to go. So yes, stay with us. Don't change. Don't. I was like change the channel. Don't switch. What do you call it? Switch buttons. Switch pages. Yeah, just stick with our Facebook page. All
Yeah.
right. Or UCAP's Facebook page or TBN Asia's Facebook
Or
page.
TBN Philippines
TBN
Facebook page.
Philippines.
Yeah.
All
So we're
right.
streaming on 4 pages right now.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. You know what? We're going to show you this wonderful video. It's a pre-recorded video of Darin Marquez. Now, Darin, he was actually a student of mine in elementary and high school. Yeah, and I happen to be, and I know this is going to sound weird because I just confess that I am an introvert, but I am also a platform coach, believe it or not. Okay. And this is also because, and I have to thank my high school for this, because they pretty much did a lot of fielding of students on stage, performance on stage. And I had a lot of exposure in terms of declamation, stuff like that in high school. And so Darin, who was my student, also underwent similar stuff like I did,
Mhm.
you know. All right, but right now, Darin is a youth leader at the Hillsong Church in Australia. When he is in the Philippines, he is a youth leader at New Life Church. That's really where he goes to. well, before he had to leave for Australia, that's where he went to.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever he's here, that's where he goes to. All right. And currently, he is part of the Hillsong Leadership College, and where he is, he just finished a diploma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in ministry, and I know he is about to take his bachelor in theology. Okay, and he is a spoken word artist. Okay, now in this interview, you will find me and him and two others who are actually part of the One Voice staff,
Yeah.
Noah and Hannah, and all three of them were actually my students.
Yeah, I know. No, and Hannah.
And so it was like, that little barkada, sharing stuff and making booking, if I can just say the word, opening that little Pandora box of teacher Janina, teaching them platform stuff. But hey, you know what? Watch this and be
Be
blessed.
blessed.
All right.
Okay, wow. This is like a reunion for you guys, especially for you, Darin,
It is.
because you are in Australia. So, Darin, can you tell us about your story of how you got into public speaking?
It was actually through you. So at that well, you still are, but at that time you were our English teacher, and yeah, randomly we were holding different competitions across the country, and it was about acting and storytelling, and I never really saw myself as like that, but because everyone was doing it, I was like, yeah, sure, let's try. I never spoke in public before. I've never done anything like anything in terms of public speaking, but that's how it got introduced through English class. Just us reciting dumb things in the front, and then it started becoming, throughout time, like something we love to do. So yeah, it started in your class.
Okay, for the sake of everybody, and Hannah and Noah can actually add to what you say because they were also my students. So, what exactly did you do in English class that exercised your tongue?
Um, is it was it English class or speech class?
It was speech class.
Speech
It was
Speech
speech
class,
class. I
class.
right?
remember.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's
you
right.
you made us memorize poetry and recite it in front. Like you didn't really ask us to put emotions or anything, just get used to speaking in front. And Noah was my classmate, so you're next. You tell your experience.
Oh man. Well, in the quickest way I can put it, I remember Ate Jan, um, I think she picked a piece for me, or I can't remember if I picked it, but like I really prepared for it and I memorized it down to the bone. And when it was my turn to recite it, once I got in front, I completely forgot everything, and then I went straight to the bathroom and cried because I was so ashamed.
Bald.
But then I remember afterwards, Ate Jan went after me and she gave me a hug, and then
Oh,
she really helped push me in terms of joining competitions. So that's where I kind of that was my origin. So it was also thanks to Ate Jan and her brother Queen, the both of them. So yeah,
oh,
they played a big
wow.
role in teaching me how to speak properly and with confidence. So there.
Wow, wow,
Nice
wonderful
though.
students. Wow, thank you guys for saying that. Noah and Hannah, I came into your lives, you were 14, something like that, 14, 15.
Mm.
But Darin, you started when you were a lot younger, right? And you had a
I was a
stammer. Can you tell us
kid.
about that?
Oh, yeah, I had the worst stutter ever. Like I would say things like, um, "Hey guys, ha 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 ha." Ha." I was like a broken record. It was so bad, and so I had to learn how to just, because I would get really excited because I love to
Mm.
talk, but I couldn't articulate anything. So I had to slow down and just like open my mouth and like breathe like a normal person. um, so yeah, I think over time and just you would constantly make me read things in front of class, even though it was like felt super insecure about it, but it was just like it was something that it bothered me, but over time, as long as you keep saying things over and over again, it just helped, and then it went away. I still
Mm-mm.
stutter from time to time, but not as bad as
So,
before.
so you would say that you work hard at it to be more of a public speaker.
I think I'd love to say I had great work ethic at the age of 12, but let's be honest, I probably didn't. I think it was just everyone just forcing me to like, hey, act here, do this, recite this, all these things. And then over time, I just got used to it. Yeah. So it was just being exposed. The exposure was the biggest help.
Mhm.
Okay, so well, for those watching, if you have mentors who are exposing you to speaking in front, then take the exposure, take the opportunity, and be really grateful. And from the experience of Darin, who would stutter, and Noah, who would cry and blank out, it shows that you don't have to be a very very good public speaker. Like it doesn't come at the start of things. No, there really is a progression, and you really have to go through a process of going through difficulty, the difficulty of
Mhm.
speaking straight, the difficulty of your nerves, of managing your nerves. Okay.
Mhm. But what about public speaking specifically do you struggle with the most? Or is there anything that you kind of struggle with aside from the stutter that you had before? Because like I remember with the blacking out thing, I had my speech in when I graduated college. The same thing happened. I blacked out, but I was able to handle it a lot better. So what about your own experience, Darren? Like when you speak now, is there something that you have a hard time with or something that you're able to conquer easily now?
Yeah, I guess now would be so. My context is ministry. I don't know who's watching this, but in my context, um, I speak, and lately I've been speaking in my home church through online, and so a lot of it is really, I guess, storytelling. And my struggle now is, does the story hit right? How do I make it hit right with people? How does it not only feel like how does it resonate? How are people thinking when they hear this? So for me, it's like having a story, like telling a story whenever I preach or whenever I speak. Does it create tension in their head? Does it um, does it have a punchline in the end that they can take home uh, whenever whenever it's over? So for me, it's really navigating through putting myself in the audience's shoes. So that's what I've been working with. It's sort of
Mhm.
like, what is the best way for me to communicate this?
Mm.
Mm. So
Best
it's
way to
it's
tell the story.
so it's
Exactly.
it's much more internal now, like rather it's more of like a process that you make in your head. Am I correct?
1000%. Because in the beginning, you'll find that like when you speak, a lot of it is internal, like confidence, and then having to have that, like the pressure. Like even now, just before this, it was like your heart's beating, you're sweating in places you don't want to sweat in. Like it's all sorts of dysfunction. But then over time, it becomes skill. It's like dynamics, vocal
Mm-mm.
expressions, pausing, all these things. And then as you keep doing it, it's like you can kind of get used to it. And so it becomes more of like, how can you evolve as you speak? How can you take things and like make it really great that really hits home for a lot of people?
Mm.
All
So
right, nice.
you've been speaking since you were like, I mean, you were thrust into the public speaker life since you were like 12. You would say in conventions, in your church here in the Philippines, even in your school. So can you recount a memorable time as a speaker? Maybe something that was a big win or something that, it wasn't that good, but you learned something from it. Like what was your favorite or most memorable time?
Oh, my most memorable one. That's a good question. I think it would have to be the first time I ever spoke in our youth conference.
Mhm.
And as a kid, I'm telling you, it was 10 minutes of, I can't believe they let that 16-year-old or 17, I think it was 17, that 17-year-old speak. It was like, I told the worst stories. I'm not even sure if it was like right to begin with, but it was memorable because of the fact that public speaking is one of those things where if you don't do it, you won't grow. Like it's one of those skills where if you're if you're not doing it, like you can't learn. You come off on stage and you're just like you're reevaluating everything. Whereas for example, like if you're playing guitar, you don't have to be in public to do it. You can practice in your home and like, oh, like this is the wrong note, or I placed it wrong here, my timing was off. But there it's like you have to do it. So for me, that was such a big learning curve on how to manage such a massive room, but still care about that one person that's hearing it. And it was just in general for me at that time personally, it was just like, it was a lot for a 17-year-old. And so that was a memorable moment. But I feel like
What?
afterwards, there was like a
Mhm.
shift.
Okay. Do you
Shift
still
All
remember
right.
your
because
message?
My message. Oh yeah, it was Jonah. It
Okay.
took too long. I had 10 minutes. I probably went 20. Someone need to get that kid off stage. It was man.
okay, Darren, you
Someone was
mentioned
doing this.
Darren, you mentioned the shift, no? I want to probe that a shift because like what shifted in you? What was the new thing that you realized after that?
I think at the time I knew that ministry was something that was always in like my heart that I felt like I wanted to do, and it was something that I was introduced to it by just talking to people, helping people, and that was the greatest introduction ever. But I went into church funny enough, not thinking that like I had to preach or I had to speak. I always thought of it as just like conversations among people. Which looking back is actually pretty good, but I guess after that experience, it made me go, I think, I think I can do this. Like I think there's something about communicating a message that is like, in essence, one of the most beautiful messages ever, and that hitting and that changing lives to me is like, it was like, oh, it went from it being like an obligation to like, I love doing this. You
Mhm.
know, there was just a thrill afterwards that was like, man, it's great.
All
Okay.
right. Nice. So, but like with that being said, with all of those experiences, in your, let's say, portfolio, or over there, like what about some tips that you can give us or to the people watching about how to become a good public speaker, or rather, what are some ways you can combat things like stage fright, or panic, or when you're in the moment of it, actually, like do you have any pieces of advice that you could impart to us?
Oh, when you're in the moment, know if you have to eat or not. I remember coming off stage and I didn't eat, and looking back,
I
I was just
remember
like, oh,
that.
I was so pale. Yeah, I was just like, oh man, like they were probably more concerned if like, did he eat before talking or did he just, was he fasting? It was just, he looked awful. Someone get that kid some vitamins. Um, no, I think when it comes to stage fright, it's just one of those things where you realize that how many times you get to speak at all at anything. So never expect to jump on stage and be the greatest thing on planet Earth. You're actually not, and that's okay.
Mm.
Stage fright is normal. Stage fright is something that, like, I'm a firm believer in. Until you put time in, that's the only time where you can judge whether you're good at something or not. I'd say try it 100 times, and after the 100th time, if you still feel like you're not good at speaking, then there you go, you found it. But I think when it comes to public speaking, people are quick to assume that they're actually not good, when in reality, if you hear them, if you practice, if you go over it, you're actually better than you think, you know. Because I think everyone has a way they tell their story, has a way they communicate certain things that I love. And so honestly, just embrace it. There is no, I would love to sugarcoat it, but there really isn't. You just got to go for it. You're not going to get better if you don't expose yourself. Just take a deep breath and go. It's 10 minutes, time will go fast, and then you probably didn't do as bad as you thought. Yeah.
Nice.
Actually, I have a follow up with that one. Now, since you started your speaking years here in the Philippines, and then you moved to Australia, right? Like with that move, what did you learn, or what was one of the most important things that you picked up during your time over there in Australia? Like, how did it contribute to your oratory skills, or to your skills as a speaker, a public speaker?
Oh yeah, Australia. No matter at what scale, like it doesn't really matter. I think it just there's such a different. There's so many different people groups here that just it's those things. I actually learn. I don't learn as much on stage as I do off stage. Meaning
Hmm.
like the more, and this is a great tip for anyone that wants to be like relevant in their communication, is that because I've been surrounded with different people, I always, for some reason, it's like a weird tick in my brain. I'm always studying, oh, if I say it like this to this person, they receive it this way.
Mm.
But then if I say to this person with this background, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's such a wealth of just like different demographics, age groups, past
Mm-mm.
experiences. And also the best thing I've ever learned was the ability to provoke thought. Meaning you'll find that now when I speak, I almost, it's never really a line, but rather it's always a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you as a communicator have the ability to provoke thought in other people, that's something, one-liners are great, and, you know, like reiteration is awesome, but I think to get people to think is something that is unlocked skill that, you know, communicators need to have. Yeah, so I'm still learning. Like I'm only 22, so it's just something that I've learned that,
That's
oh, that's actually
deep.
really important.
That's good.
Yeah, that's deep.
Thank you.
I mean, I think provoking thought is harder than making people laugh. Because some people are just naturally witty, but you have to really know your stuff and gain a lot of experiences in order to
Mhm.
keep the audience, answering questions, thinking. So thank you for sharing that, Darren. Um, since you've been there in Australia, can you tell our viewers what you're currently doing as a public speaker? You mentioned earlier that you speak in your online church. Aside from that, are there any other speaking engagements you're a part of?
Yeah, I mean, here I think Australia became very different for me in the best way possible. I actually didn't speak as much, which going into it, I knew that I wouldn't. This is like I'm in an environment where you probably want to have the best speakers in the world, and so for me, Australia was the time was just to grow. Like I actually wasn't looking forward to speaking at all. I had times where they asked me to preach in different. So we have these things called chapels, where every year group comes in. You kind of have to share a word. So I shared a word for like 10 minutes, and then there'd be times where I recited a spoken word. It wasn't mine, but in like a young adult service. But I think so that was really cool. But no, Australia to me is like has just been learning and growing internally, because that's the mistake people make, is like you being a good speaker is not just your ability to talk right, but it's
Mm-mm.
like, yeah, it's like what I said earlier. I feel like a broken record, but it's just understanding how people perceive things is like super important. Because if not, then no matter what you say, if you don't say it the right way, it just it'll go one year and then it'll leave. It's not impactful. Yeah, so that's
All right.
Wow.
So oh, sorry. All right. So with all of that being said, Darren, is there anything that you'd like to share to our viewers, like final words on how they themselves can have their own personal breakthrough in public speaking? Like, let's say they're watching now and they're inspired. What is one thing that you wanna impart to them?
yeah, no, honestly, just go for it. Like these are one of those things where if you if you study how like be the best, be diligent in how you study human beings. That's the best advice I could give you. The more you listen to other people's stories, the better storyteller you'll be.
Fantastic.
And when it comes to I guess your own journey, yeah, just there you just have to keep doing it again and again. It's that Malcolm Gladwell, was it 10,000 hour rule? You have to give like
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours for you to master something. And so just because you had one bad run or 100 bad like times where you spoke in public and it's just like so bad until you've, yeah, just don't quit. Like until you've hit that 10,000 hour rule. I'm a firm believer in that. Like I still can't judge myself probably till I'm like 30 to see if like,
Mhm.
oh, like, am I good at this? Let's see. You know, just don't quit. Just don't quit too early.
That's good. So it really pays to listen more if you want to learn how to speak more effectively. Very good. Very, very good.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the philosophy behind if you want to lead more effectively, you need to learn how to serve. There's they go
1000%.
they go hand in hand, I
Yeah.
suppose, like the way you worded
Like
out. So
reverse
yeah.
engineering it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Nice.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
think
Darren.
in other disciplines also, no, like in writing, there's also this notion that before you can write a really good book, you should have read at least something like 1 million books. You know, a notion. It's a notion. So it's not a hard fast rule that we dapat 1 million books ka. You know, no, nothing like that. But again, yeah, for you to be able to give good output, whether speaking, writing, or whatever discipline it is, you really have to pay attention also to your input. How much time do you spend in expanding your craft, expanding yourself for the craft? So yeah, fantastic stuff, Darin. So our viewers were able to get things like diligence, no, not giving up, listening to other stories. Yeah, and then like super final, Darin. I'm curious, like what do you do whenever? Like, do you have any coping mechanisms? Like, whenever you're so nervous, or like, something you tell yourself, a verse that you cling on to, it's something that helps you through nervousness.
Um, yeah, I always do this. Every time I speak, I, I have the benefit of doing it in a church context. So for other people who are listening, it might look different. But for me, it's like whenever I get nerves, I always think about the one person that sits in the room. It sounds super cheesy, but it really is true. Like it just helps me calm down. It's like I know that I'm bringing a message that's meaningful, that has helped shape my life. But for me to, I guess I have to get out of my own head. And I always think about the single moms in the room. I think about the kid that didn't have a dad. I think about, that kid just found out that his parents got a divorce. Like it's those things that make me go, okay, cool. And if you want something practical, one of the teaching pastors here, what he does is when he goes up on stage, he takes a deep breath and he's you don't really hear him, but right before he kind of like stomps to get the nerves out, to shake. So if that helps you, but for me, it's that because I'm never really the person that gets like the shakes or whatever. For me, I'm just like
Mm-mm.
so in my head, and I
In
just
your
have to leave
head.
that place. Yeah, super. So I just have to leave that place.
All right,
Okay.
very good. Very, very good.
All right. So, Hannah, Noah, do you have any final questions before we wrap this up? This has been very enlightening, informative.
Super, super. I just want to thank Darren for sharing your story and your insights. Because for the viewers, I've known Darren since he was like, what, 7, 8 years old? So I was a witness to his stuttering and to his stammering until, he had his first speech at 12, dressed in a squirrel costume. And that was also cool and cute. And then he
Is it 12
started
or 8?
speaking.
I think he was
Oh
8.
no, I met him at 8. I met him at 8, and then he started
Mhm.
speaking in our chapel hour in school, and I was like, wow, this guy really loves God and he knows how to bring the message across. And then I heard that he wanted to go to Hillsong in Australia, and I was like, okay, okay. A little fish in a big pond, but to hear him speak now and to share his insights and to know his heart is really for storytelling and to reach people and encourage people. I'm really so thankful, Darren, na, you know, I'm also a public speaker in my own way, but
Mhm.
I don't speak to big crowds. I speak to little kids. So the things you've shared will really help me and other teachers out there who are doing like online and speaking for the first time to a camera. So thanks, Darren.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I'm very proud of you, Darren. You've come a long way. from here, from making silly
Timmy the
projects with
squirrel.
us and everything. Yeah, I think it was a mouse, if I remember correctly.
I
Anyway,
think it was
squirrel or mouse,
both.
whatever.
Both.
Oh, probably both.
Both.
A
Probably
mouse
He was
one
a
year
cat
and a
partial.
squirrel
too.
the next year.
Yeah,
You were a
yeah.
cat too,
Yeah,
Boris the cat.
yeah. The things we do for skits. Hey,
Yeah.
my days.
But yeah, I mean, everyone has their humble beginnings. Everyone does their silly things during the start of it all, and those are all very important. They all contribute to our own individual growths, and I'm glad that they all led to something great, and they're leading to something great for you, Darin. So I just wanted to say that I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you're doing okay and that you're still healthy, you're doing well. So yeah,
Mhm.
keep it up, man. Keep it up.
Thanks, my guy.
Okay, so that's it, Darren. I'm also extremely proud of you, of course. Yeah, I think being a teacher doesn't end in school, no? Hannah actually calls me her forever teacher.
Forever
So,
mentor, I
forever
said.
mentor. So yeah, and it's such a it always makes my heart smile whenever I come across you, your name, stories about you. Yeah, and I remember the time in Cagayan. I'll never forget that when you brought the house down during your what do you call that? There's a
The
term for it.
David.
No, it wasn't
The
David.
Daniel.
Daniel,
Daniel.
yeah, yeah. It was a command performance, and I remember that for Darren, it wasn't a piece that he was confident with. He was confident with another piece, but not this Daniel piece because he had a hard time with it. It was something that wasn't fully memorized. And I remember that during the performance itself, yeah, there were things that you did there that wasn't done during the competition part of the convention, no? But it really brought the house on. I remember you were white faced. You were like, oh no, can I just do the other piece? And I was like, no, you've been training for this your whole life, your whole childhood. You're still
Mhm.
okay. You were a teenager then, no? So it wasn't exactly like a huge long life, but it was something that I believe marked you in a very different way. Yeah, and it gave you a lot of affirmation, I believe. So
Mhm.
wow, yeah. Okay, so I guess that's it. Unless you want to remark on that, Darren, we shall close. We shall
No,
close this. No more, none. Do you have
no. All
a?
said and done.
Okay, okay. You want to say hi to the to
Yeah.
your friends in the Philippines?
Oh yeah. Hello to everyone's watching. Yeah, thanks. Thank you guys so much for having me here. Like it's like I've been seeing you guys, like been noticing. I know it's been tough to keep up with everything back home and overseas, and I saw that the
Mm-mm.
magazine was like picking up, and like I see like everyone watching. Nah, like this is great. I know for you at the John, this has been in your heart for ages, and to see like to hear the stories of the people watching, and like I think this is awesome. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for saying yes to the invitation. So this wraps up our talk with Darin Marquez. Bye
All
for
right.
now.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Wow, so we have that wonderful video, that wonderful interview with
Yeah.
Darin Marquez. The amazing thing about Darren is that he really talks, he really considers, no? He really considers the people that he's talking to, the audience. He
Yeah.
wants to provoke thought. And the thing about his coping mechanism, he says one person. Imagine just one person. For him, it's the single mom. No, so there's always that other person who can benefit from
From
the thought, from
exactly.
the speech. I mean, from whatever it is he says.
Hmm. And I just really love that thing that he said, yung provoking thought. Because if you're speaking and you're not causing a change, or if you're not able to provoke other people into thinking, then I think it's a waste of time and effort, right? If you're just speaking just so you can speak, I think it's such a waste. And I remember there is this quote that I love to say, and that words are two things: what you say and how you say it.
Yes.
And yeah, if all this speaking, all that we're doing right now is able to change just one life, that would have been worth it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Wow. You know, there's a lot more that you are going to find out from the next two guests.
Hmm.
So, don't go away, all right? Now, we hope that you are enjoying our broadcast so far. If you've only tuned in now, we are One Voice Radio in partnership with UCAP Radio and TBN Asia, with media partner Light TV, God's Channel of Blessings, and OMF Literature as one of our sponsors. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, facebook.com/One Voice Magazine, and on One Voice Magazine. You know what? I'm not so sure now if we're streaming live on YouTube, but definitely on our Facebook. Okay, you can find us on Instagram, instagram.com/One Voice Magazine, and on YouTube, www.youtube.com/WhatMag Inc. All right, since we are on the topic of public speaking, let's break for a while and listen to a spoken word performance by Sofia Paderes.
So yeah, Sophia Paderes. I actually heard her live, and she's very good. You know, Sophia Paderes is a fine arts graduate from UP Diliman, and she likes to paint with words. So spoken word poetry found its way into her heart in 2012, and it never left since. So here's a video.
Shadow Step. This was shown at one worship night at the Every Nation campus in Katipunan. So enjoy this performance.
We've been walking on this journey for years now, and I've held your hand long enough to know that if I slip into quicksand or miss a step, it is not you who lets go. Your fingers aren't the ones coated in doubt or in selfishness, gripping firmly only when it feels right, when it feels necessary. Your hands are not the ones made of brittle bone, shivering and breaking when the cold starts to show. Teach me to never let go. We've known plenty of good weather, safe landings, skies full of stars, and days of endless wind, and there were times I would purposefully stumble, thinking, I'll be okay. I'll land elbows first in the faces of dandelions anyway, and other times I would stray not because of greener grass, but because I was too caught up smelling that single flower to notice that you were calling me over to the next meadow, where petals of a prettier color and a sweeter smell stretch out like a seascape. Teach me to give up my little treasures and desires, for yours are far better. And sometimes they get a little adventurous. I tell you, I want mountains. That I want the strain, the adrenaline rush, the thrill of letting pieces of hardened sand and pebble carry my whole weight, the challenge, the sweat, the blood. I tell you, I want to see things from the eyes of God. I want to struggle and overcome. I tell you, I want the soul of a deer. To plant my feet firmly on the narrow heights. I tell you, I'm alright, but when I'm actually in the process of the climb, in the process of waiting, wondering which rock do I grasp next, which path do I trust with my steps, I tell you, I'm not ready for mountains after all. But you did not bring me here to watch me fall, so teach me. Teach me to keep my ankles strong, but my hold on you stronger. When we tire of mountains, you take me to oceans. You know how much I love the saltwater mysteries. How my heart sings when I get to feel wet clumps of sand beneath the soles of my feet. But you also know how much I don't know about the waters. You know that it's hard for me to tell when an undercurrent comes sweeping in like thousands of tiny crabs. How I still can't tell the difference between high tide and low tide until its waves are lapping at my door. How I always swim after jellyfish no matter how many times I've been stung. How I always seem to forget that not every beautiful thing has beautiful intentions, and especially how oceans also terrify the breath out of me. One of my deepest fears is to die drowning, but still you row us out into the middle of the sea. No life vests, no whistles, nothing. And we've had calm waters and dolphin mornings. We've had rough rowing and storms brewing, yet each and every time you've managed to put the thundering and rumbling in my chest to rest. And each and every time you've gotten us safely back to shore, but honestly, there are days I want to jump ship, find my own boat, sail my own sea, and some days I do. Those days I am half drowned. Those days I turn around and I find you there. Teach me to trust the one whose voice the wind and waves know. Now here we are in a different kind of sea, the kind without water. And all I have are illusions, false promises, questions, and weary feet. Why are we here? Where are we going? Why did we leave? How am I going to shake off this mirage? After everything we've been through, this is where you're taking me. And my path is an endless circle, a cycle, losing my heart, my emotions, my stocked up wisdom to judge my situation, and I come to the conclusion that you have deserted me. But you haven't. Your shadow is cast and peace overflows. Maybe I've been asking the wrong questions. Maybe instead of asking you where this stretch of sand ends, instead I should be asking you to teach me. Teach me to love you in every season, whether it be the wildest of winters or the harshest of heats. Teach me the simple fact that deserts make me thirst for water, that I need to be lost before I can be found, that without the battle there is no victory, that seeds first die before they grow into trees, but before anything else. Teach me to let the sound of your voice be what guides me through narrow paths and roaring winds, not which road looks smooth or which sky looks dim. We've been walking on this journey for years now, and I've held your hand long enough to know that after all this time, you've been teaching me to love you, but with my eyes closed.
Watch and be blessed. Light TV, God's channel of blessings on your free digital TV. A cable subscriber? No worries, because you can also watch the programs of Light TV through these cable channels. Just press your remote control to 1A3 on Signal Cable, 41 on Sky Direct, 98 on Sky Cable Analog, 230 on Sky Cable Digital, 77 on Cable Link Digital, and 115 on Air Cable. We are available on TV Plus and other digital TV and set-top boxes reaching Mega Manila, including some parts of Cavite, Rizal, Bulacan, Laguna, Pampanga, and Bataan.
Come to the light, God's channel of blessings.
I'll wait for the cue from you. I'll press this na ha. Joyce, I'll press this. Welcome back to One Voice Radio, where we discuss stories of hope, unity, and transformation. One Voice Radio is the broadcast arm of One Voice Magazine, which you can easily find online at onevoicemagazine.com. We are streaming live from the UCAP studio. And again, with me is Joyce, and I'm Janina, your hosts for this afternoon. You You can also find us streaming live at the UCAP page and at the page of TBN Asia and TBN Philippines. Now, you guys just watched the spoken word performance of Sofia Paderes entitled Shadow Step. That was amazing, wasn't it?
It is. I actually, I just told you earlier while it was playing that one of the quote that I really love from that spoken word is that God has been teaching us to love Him all this time, but with our eyes closed. Probably it's something that we can relate to, especially now with everything that's happening, when everything seems so dark. And like, Lord, where are we? Where are you taking us? But then again, we just need to learn to love God where we are.
Yes, it's so swak na swak with this quarantine and this pandemic, you know. It's like, yes, Lord, you are holding my hand. Okay, all right. You know what? Oh, and then after that, we also watched a playback video of Light TV. So, guys, you know, they're such a blessing even to us. They've been partners of One Voice since 2000 and, if I'm not mistaken, 13. Yeah, and they're still partners with us until now. So, let's do a little shout out, Joyce. Anyone you want to make bati to?
Yeah, of course. So, hi, shout out to my family. Of
Are they
course,
watching?
right?
Hi, Mayan. Arian.
I'm not so sure, but I hope they are watching. And I just want to say shout out to our church, Jesus the Bride and Morning Star Ministry. So we have outreaches first our main church, of course, which is in Manila. So every Sunday we have live Sunday worship service. You can find it on our Facebook page, and we have outreaches in Soldiers Hills, Cavite. We have outreaches also in New Jersey and Canada, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, shout out then to my Makati Lighthouse family. So tonight at oh my gosh, I forgot the time, if it's 6 or 7 p.m. But we have a live worship busking.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. You will not see me there, but I was behind the scene, like the camera girl.
All right.
But yeah, you need to watch it, guys. Really, really good worship experience.
Okay, and okay, on my end, I want to say hello to the One Voice people, the One Voice team. You guys are amazing. I can't wait to see you in person. Hello, my family also. Hi, guys, if you are watching. And my church family, Community of Faith Alliance Church. All right, okay. You know what? We do have a raffle at the end of the show.
Yes,
Again, our sponsor for this is OMF Literature, and we are giving away 4 sets of leadership books by John Maxwell. You will see the covers of the books later on, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were you guys, I mean, if I weren't here and I was on the other side of the screen, I'm gonna wait for that raffle because I want to have all 4 books.
All right, and you know what? Without much further ado, I guess we can go to our next part of the program because yeah, you know what? Time goes so fast. All right, now you are going to watch a really special interview between us, actually me and Glendale, another One Voice staff member, and Ron Titular and Joyce Titular, who are really heavy in their field, okay, their expertise of public speaking. Now, let me introduce them. Ron Titular has been in the media and broadcast industry for over 30 years as a network director, station manager, program director, production manager, radio announcer, and consultant. He's a professional voice talent who has voiced many commercials and was the official voice at one time for stations like NU 107, Joey FM, RJTV, the Home Shopping Network, Solar Sports, and Basketball TV. He has hosted on stage and on TV and has been involved in media startups for radio, television, and internet ventures such as Radio Republic, United Christian Broadcasters, The Edge Radio, and FEBC's digital broadcasts. He is currently a consultant for broadcast media networks and groups venturing into radio, like us, and internet media, and is a founding partner of Big Barcada and Bright Speak. Joyce and Burton Titular, by the way, you have the same name,
Yeah.
Joyce Ann. Okay, perhaps you might want to introduce her. Okay, go.
So now
Joyce.
everybody knows that my name is Joyce Ann. So Joyce Ann Burton Titular is our Binibining Pilipinas Universe 1985 and Miss Young Philippines 1981. She's been in media for 20 years as a news anchor on ANC and RPN 9 News Watch, and as an announcer and newscaster on NU 107. As an actress, she has performed in several stage plays and has appeared in teleseries, movies, and independent films. She is an accomplished host as well as a professional voice talent, whom you've most likely heard on the radio and on TV. For 8 years, she was the official voice of cable channel Second Avenue. She has been a commercial voiceover for many household names like Dove Beauty Products, Abbott Nutrition, Yamaha Motors Philippines, SM Malls, and Smart Communications. If you've ever flown Cebu Pacific, it's her voice that welcomes, okay, instructs, and flies with you. Joyce has also served for the past 5 years as one of the co-hosts of CBN Asia's The 700 Club. She is the founding partner of Bright Speak.
Okay, so guys, let's watch this video. It's amazing. All right. So, Ron and Joy, so glad that you could be with us this afternoon.
Thank you guys so much for inviting us.
We're happy to be here.
Very.
Okay. So, guys, would you share with us how it was like for you to get into public speaking? Yeah, what's your story?
Well, I start. Oh, you, me. Me na lang. Ladies first.
Ladies first.
I started out as a beauty queen. That was kind of like my first job, model beauty queen. So, syempre may konting public speaking yan because you have to answer questions in front of a whole lot of people. And that is a challenge, I think, as most of us Filipinos know, we're pageant lovers. And, when our beauties kind of like flub in the Q&A, we get really,
Rattled.
Yeah, we get rattled. We don't like it when our beauties make mistakes or don't really perform well in the Q&A. So yeah, maybe you could consider that would be my first exposure to public speaking. And then later in my 20s, Ron trained me to become a radio DJ. So that would be my, I think, other first step towards public speaking.
Me naman, I never planned on it. I'm actually, I'm the quiet one in the family, believe it or don't. I'm the quiet one in the family. And I happened to have a friend in college who wanted to be a DJ. So he went to do an audition, and while he was there, I asked if I could tag along because his audition was in a recording studio. And I always wanted to see the inside of a recording studio. So I went along, and as I happened to have been there, when my friend finished auditioning, I heard a voice say, next. And I was like, no, you kid, I'm not here for that. But they said, sige nga. So I decided that, okay, I'll give it a read. And a few days later, we both got called into a radio station to, be interviewed by the owner. And that very day we were in there, I sat down with my friend, and the owner of the station chatted with us for a while. Then he showed us the inside of a radio booth in the days when they didn't use MP3s or, digital files. We used those round things that you put on. So he showed us the inside of that, and it showed us, hey, this is cool. This is how this works. This is how you hear the music and how it comes out on the radio. And this is a microphone, and this is a switch for the microphone. Simple, right? And we were like, yeah, okay. Then he said, come back at 6 o'clock, you're on the air. So that was because I'm really pretty much the quiet one in the family. I didn't like also even reciting in school. Not my kind of thing. That was how I got into it.
Wow. I find it amazing that you didn't think of even being part of media, like doing public speaking until this situation. I find that really amazing. So you grew to love it, no?
Oh yeah, I grew to love it. We have the saying, once you get bitten by that broadcast bug.
Radio bug.
Especially the radio bug. Yeah, and I believe there's a lot of great foundational skills that you learn in radio for public speaking. But in truth, you know what? I think we all learn public speaking at home. It really starts at home. And my case was a little different. I was a quiet one, but I did observe a lot. And, it was just my nature to be quiet and observe. And I had a very outgoing elderly brother and a very comedic second brother. So those are the two guys.
And a madaldal sister.
And my daldal sister.
Okay.
Hi, family, we love you.
And then and then for Joyce's family, like, did you come from a family also that was into speaking?
I don't think like public speaking, not really. Although my mom, after she got married, she never finished kasi college. My mom came from a very poor family, and she was able to survive. Napakaganda ng mami ko. So she was able to use her brains, and she said, well, I'm beautiful and I'm poor. So what kind of job? Yeah, I'm uneducated, I'm beautiful, I'm poor. What kind of jobs are there out for me? Not good ones, right? So she used her coconut. She taught herself how to sing. And she started singing as backup singer ni Napilita, Corrales nung unang panahon sa mga nightclub tulad ng Bayside. So my mom escaped a lot of bad things by teaching herself how to sing and working as a singer, and she was doing so well. But my dad fell in love with her, and then that was the end of that. And she got married. But then when I was 8 or 9 years old, my mom wanted talaga to finish college. So she went back to college when I was a little girl. And she was the president of her class. So I assume marunong siya mag-public speaking. Paano ka naman presidente ng iyong college class kung hindi ka marunong magtalumpati or, make presentation. So I can assume. And my mom is a singer. So, I grew up seeing her perform at home because she loved to sing at home. And then we'd go to these nightclubs where they would sing. She would bring me along, and they'd ask her to sing, and so she would have her spiels before she delivered the song. Before she sang her song, she would talk to the audience. And there are a lot of aspects of public speaking. You think, oh, I'm a singer, I don't need to deal with public speaking. Not necessarily true. You have to talk to people because the best singers do that. Look at Martin Rivera, Gary V. Right? They don't just stand up there and sing. Diba? They talk to the audience, and they warm our hearts with their words. So public speaking, I think, it was not the primary thing of my family, but my mom knew how to address a crowd. My dad was not shy, so I'm sure if people made him say something. Hindi shy daddy ko. It's like, say something, okay, parang ganun daddy ko. So he was not shy.
I think it really starts at home too, speaking of parents. My dad was an officer in the Navy, but my mom was a teacher. Right? And she was actually my first critic. At first it was like, you're going to be what? You're going to do what? You're going to go on the what? Radio? Then I'd come home, she goes, you know what? You're speaking too fast. Your voice is too... your mouth is too close when you speak. Now, it turns out that her only brother, my uncle, who was one of my favorite uncles, was a radio announcer. So that was pretty, it begins in the family. And when you encourage family members, children especially, to share and to speak and share their ideas, I think that's where it starts.
Okay, wow. Gigi?
Sir Ron, Miss Joyce, being said that, would you consider yourselves as a natural public speakers or init public speakers, or is it something na pinaghirapan niyo po before ma-achieve?
Parehong hindi. Basta una yung hindi, pangalawa oo. Yung unang tanong, ano yung
was it natural?
Init public speakers.
Ako madaldal talaga ako even when I was a child. Okay, I can really talk, but just because you're talkative, it doesn't mean you will be a very good public speaker. It gives you hope. May pag-asa ka kung madaldal ka. Because there is a discipline involved, and you can even say there is art involved in public speaking.
Right.
So I'm naturally talkative, but I did not have to work hard toward public speaking only because I took baby steps. Yun lang, the thing is, I had to work long. I didn't work hard, I worked long. It took time. Because you're taking baby steps, right? It's the big steps that make it hard.
Yeah.
You get my logic?
Yeah. So when it comes to baby steps, like what exactly were those baby steps? So there was the pageant, and then what else?
Oh gosh, I had a trauma in between the pageant and being trained by Ron. I had a huge trauma, public speaking trauma.
Can you share that with us?
Yeah.
I was 16. I was already a beauty queen, and I got invited to be, pag beauty queen ka, diba? Oh, come and host in our live entertainment show. And it was Discorama, Apo Hiking Society yung host nila. And I was like invited to be the co-host, and so I was there, right? And in those days, wala pang teleprompter noon. My goodness, walang teleprompter. Hindi ako kahit noon when I was younger, the only time I can memorize is if it's for school. But anything outside of school, I'm really bad at memorizing. So anyway, the floor director comes up to me and says, "Oh, Joyce, do you know the story of the tortoise and the hare?" Sabi ko, yeah, yabang ko ba? Yeah, that's Aesop's fable. I know that. I read. And it's true. I'm really a bookworm. I mean, at that age of 16, I look at my books. And this is only three of my 6 or 7 cases of books here at home. So I am a bookworm, a certified bookworm. So anyway, sabi ko, yeah, I know that. And he goes, okay, can you summarize it? Sabi ko, yeah, I think so. Okay, summarize it. And then after you summarize it, kasi may connection daw yung tortoise and the hare dun sa next segment. So, and then you just introduce the next guest. So, okay. So, live show to ha, live. People are watching and they're breathing and yeah, like that. And so, yung director nakaganon. Tapos pag ganon niya, ibig sabihin, pag kinakalabit na niya yung air, ibig sabihin yan, you're on. So nakaganon siya. And I was thinking in my head, okay, what's the story again? And then, as they're playing a commercial, and then parang as the countdown was going, and I knew that magde-deadline na, parang nagblanko yung isip ko.
On live TV.
On live TV. So, when finally he went like that, and I was like, hello everybody, welcome back to Discorama. And I just, are you familiar with the story of the tortoise and the hare? The tortoise.
Oh no!
I was not deer in the headlight. Ako yun talagang as in, kung ahas yan, natupa na ako. So, and then, puti na lang the director, he knew I was like, nagblanko ako. So he just went straight to the next scene. So I was 16. When you're 16, if you remember, or you guys are already, you're still 16?
No, we're beyond 16.
You look like it. So I'm sure you remember when you were 16. Na the world, one small thing and your world will crumble. You have a pimple. It's the end of the world, right? So for me, it was the end of my career. No, I tell you, it was the end of my career as a public speaker. Magpapaganda na lang ako. Yun yung nasa, I'll be beautiful and answer questions, but I will not host anything because I'm not able to. I define myself based on that one mistake. I had no trainer kasi. I had no coach, person who was coaching me. And my mom was there, but she's, she didn't have that kind of training na mag-host. So, and I didn't tell her that I was devastated by my own mistake. I just kept this all with in myself. And people naman in the studio, they're like, oh, that's okay, Joyce, it happens. It happens to the best of us. But for me, it was the end of, of any hope of me becoming like a host. So, tumatanggap pa rin ako noon ng hosting job, but always with somebody who's very experienced. And I refuse to host anything kung ako lang. Kasi nawalan ako ng tiwala sa sarili ko. So, yun yung super traumatic experience ko. And it was about 11 years after when Ron started training me for radio.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I was taking baby steps.
Wow. Okay, I just
So
have
in
to
a
like.
way, it wasn't hard because of the baby steps.
I think it's so wonderful that the person that God used to help you overcome your trauma is your husband, you know, like
Husband. He sucked me into his world of radio. I had nothing to do with radio, and then he somehow brought me.
Okay.
It happened by accident.
So Ron, for you to help Joyce overcome, you know, so how did you draw her back into the world of public speaking? Like, did you give her like what kind of assignments? Yeah.
I had heard, actually, I heard her before, because I think that there's one time she had to just record a little something
for a pageant.
And you know, when you record, she just felt comfortable with the person who asked her to record. And I heard her do her segment, and I said, oh, she's got it. So I knew already that she could do it. But I also got her on, you know, she's a very competitive person. So you throw a challenge at her and I'm going to do it. So it so happened when I was setting up a station in Davao, I needed to find a certain number of announcers, and I had almost all the announcers I needed except for one, because I wanted them to have a specific sound. So Joyce goes, well, I'll help you out. And I was like, oh, really? You'll help me out? Yeah, how hard can it be?
I said that. I said, how hard can it be? All you're going to do is turn on the microphone and go blah, 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 blah. That's easy. Ganun pa kaya ba yan?
Oh, yeah, really? Huh? Okay, so, you know, okay, the challenge is on. So I said, okay, say something then for me. And then she goes, okay, what do you want me to say? I said, okay, say the name of the station and the time. That's all you have to do. Name of the station and the time. And she goes, that's it? And I said, yeah, just that simple. Just say the name of the station and the time. And then she's like, okay. How should I say it?
It is actually harder than it sounds.
Yeah, it's, you know, it
when you're asked to say something, then you realize it's not that easy.
Yeah.
So started there, and then I think she just got bit by that radio broadcast bug, and you know, on the first day she wanted on the air, though, she cried.
Oh, okay. So yeah, to those watching, it's okay to cry.
I wanted to resign after my first day at work. You know why?
Why?
You know why?
You messed it up, ba?
One tiny mistake when I was saying goodbye. At the end of 4 hours, I was doing brilliantly for 4 hours. Kasi naman, yung training kasi ni Ron ganito, hindi naman kami magsasalita ng marami. We just say, NU107, that was,
Very simple.
Nirvana with whatever song. And our next song is going to be Stone Temple Pilots with blah, blah, blah. This is JD on NU107. So yun lang. Songs, name, station name, and that's it. So it was not hard. It really wasn't hard. He really taught us step by step.
Baby steps.
And then so when I was saying goodbye, I think I mumbled or I slipped or wala. And again, nag-teenage moment na ako, para ako na naman millennial. Hindi naman. I was like, oh, I did awful. I did terrible. I don't know why. No, we like to focus on our mistakes and not the hours and hours of good work. And we focus on. Anyway, so I was like, I want to resign. And then he said, okay, sweetheart. He was so sweet. Okay, honey, you know what? Why don't we just go home, have nice dinner, and then wake up in the morning, and if you still want to resign, and then you can. We'll decide tomorrow. Of course, when I woke up the next morning, I was like, oh, wow.
That's wisdom. What sleep can do.
Yes. So that was it. It was fun. It wasn't fun then because I thought, my world was ending all over again. But now that we've gone so far, they're such beautiful memories.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Gigi?
Yeah. Is there anything about public speaking po that you struggle with the most? Or meron po ba kayong mga past struggles about public speaking that you can share with us?
Or I guess since
Yeah.
that was already
Ako,
past now.
Hindi, ako, ito, sobrang, this is my holy insecurity. I am really horrible at memorizing Bible verses. And that really, I've been praying to you, Lord God, increase my memory cells, the memorization cells in my brain. Because, when I host on the 700 Club Asia and my co-host, they pull Bible verses out from the air like magic. I'm like, ano nga pala ng Philippians 4:8? Ganun ako as in. And I just wish God would inject some memory cells in my brain. And so, alam mo, nagko-compensate na lang ako. I read my script in advance at hinahanda ko na yung mga Bible verses na nilalagay sa puso ko ni God. Tapos tinitignan ko lang sa phone ko just to make sure tama nga. Imagine mo kahapon, I'm talking about Psalms 23, but I called it Psalms 31. You know why? I was combining Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman, with Psalms 23, and somehow I said Psalms 31, through the valley of death, fear no evil. Then my co-host said, no, that's 23. I said, oh Lord, and this is on live. It's on live on the air. I know how to laugh at myself. I was
that matters.
Finding Proverbs 31 with Psalms 23 and got them like that. So, that's the trick now. It's like when I do make a mistake, I laugh. No more. It's no longer the end of the world.
Yeah.
I like to know. I like to have some amount of preparation, even the smallest amount of preparation before going into it. And that's because of the training that was given to me. And I went through a lot of great training from my mentors that I really thank God for putting those mentors in my life. But it was, I had always been amazed how some really talented announcers, you hear them on the air and they're like, wow, man, they're so good. It's like they do, like Joyce says, they pull things out of their boom, 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 boom. It's like they're walking encyclopedias. They know this little bit of information or that little bit of information. And then they can tell you what's happening downtown or in the city tonight, this event and that event.
And now that we're Christians, we can't hate them,
They know all the little details. But in truth, they've prepared that. So in radio, a lot of times you'll say, okay, the DJ is going on the air to do an ad lib. And then they do this perfectly, all the information perfectly packed in. Well, that's not in sense what a true ad lib is. And a lot of the great announcers, they really prepare, and they have at the very least, they know the direction where they want to take whatever they're going to say on the air. And they have notes aplenty. They just sound like they're taking it off the top of their head, but they're actually, they've got that skill to sound like they're speaking to you naturally. They've got a ton of notes. Right? And for me, it's been a habit of mine to make sure that I'm prepared in that manner. If not with the notes, then definitely I have it mapped out in my head. And there's a system that I use personally to do that. And I need to have at least know this is where I'm going to start and this is where I'm going to end. And if you can't help me there, then I'm going to have a hard time sitting in front of you to share anything. So I always struggle with that. And even when we prepare things together, Joyce likes getting the details, and I need to know the roadmap.
Yeah, so we wrestle. Ron and I wrestle a lot when we're getting ready for our workshops. Lots of wrestling happens.
Like, I need to know where this is. And she goes, wait, this is the part here. I said, yeah, I got that part, but I need to know this part. So that kind of happens. And I do struggle with that because I do want to make sure that I do a good presentation.
Yes.
That's because you're given the opportunity to share maybe a message or a story or something that you were asked to share. And a lot of times for me, that's a God-given opportunity. And you need to do it justice by preparing for it in whichever way you're comfortable with preparing for it. And one of the things I did when I used to teach announcers, and there's several ways to do it. And it's best to know all the different ways. Joyce, for example, knows how to read an entire script, but you would never be able to tell she's reading an entire script.
Wow,
Word for
really?
word. Right. But there are some people that are trained that, just have bullet points. Just like an outline.
Yeah, and they can't handle scripts. They get lost. Like there's too many words.
Actually, I'm like that.
So,
yeah.
And those are skills that, if you develop both skills, that's great.
That's
so
the
develop
best.
all the types of skills you can that will help you be prepared for that. So I guess I struggle with that even up till today, because I just want to make sure that I'm doing justice to the invitation that I had, and more importantly, to the message that I want to deliver during that engagement.
Okay, wow. Fantastic stuff. Just with that, I can already pull out certain tips that our viewers, our listeners can use when they do public speaking. So, for example, one with Joyce, it's to laugh at yourself, that it's okay to have those baby steps and to have those crying moments, trauma. And then with Ron, it's really to prepare well. Do you have like maybe two more tips that you can share?
6.
We're prepared. I told you, prepared. Be prepared. Oh, you go for it.
First, start with private speaking. How can you be a good public speaker if in private, to the people you love the most, you don't speak well to them? So starts at home, as Ron said. Number 2, be a rocket ship and not a gun. Because if you're a gun, you have to point the gun really at the target. It really has to be swack at the target before you pull the trigger. But if you're a rocket ship, you do not have to be pointed at your target. You're going to Mars. If Mars is over there, you can even lift,
side tour.
Yeah, you can go that way, and then as you're going, you just course correct. You course correct. Okay?
Yes.
Because if you wait to be perfectly targeted or pointed toward your target, it might take you forever to launch. Unlike a rocket ship, you can launch because you can just go any direction and then course correct. So be a rocket ship, not a gun. Number 3, maximize the most powerful tool outside your body, and that is your cell phone.
Oh,
your cell phone is a studio. Your cell phone is a studio.
Yes.
Your cell phone is a school. Okay? Your cell phone is you can produce things and create things. So don't use that powerful cell phone just to watch things and to consume things. You gotta be learning from it. You gotta be producing things on it, creating your own content. You don't even have to post it online. You can always just start recording yourself on your phone and send it to a small group of people you trust. So that is a powerful weapon you've got, your cell phone. Use it. 4, have an army behind you and a general in front of you. So army is your people that support you and they're your rest back. They catch you when you fall. You have a general or a model or a person or a mentor in front of you that, guides you, so that if you go into battle and you get wounded, you're not going to be like me and wait 11 years before you go back into the battle. Okay. Number 5, grab every opportunity to speak to people and go to every single audition you can go to. And then I think the last one, 6, is pray. This is my dog, Archer. Pray out loud, okay? Pray out loud, use your own words, and be creative. Because what's the use of being a public speaker if you can't even talk to God?
That's true.
Using your own words. So, and be loud when you talk to God. Be expressive and,
He likes to hear
He likes to hear your voice.
He likes to hear your voice.
And hear you, communicate with Him. And I think that's important thing for a lot of Christians. We want to talk to people and be really great at talking to people, but we don't want to be great at talking. Well, not naman we don't want to be great at talking to God, but we kind of like overlook that. So yeah, that would be my 6 tips. Do you have any?
There's a lot of tips that we teach in our workshops, and I think probably the two that I'll add on is number one, learn to listen. Of course, listen to God so that you know what message it is that you're supposed to deliver. Listen to yourself. You got to learn to listen to yourself. Okay. The whole lesson in itself, and then listen to others, because if you don't listen to others, then no one's going to want to listen to you.
Yes.
And then let's see, what would be the other one? Oh yeah, be genuine, because I think I said it near the very start. Out of the overflow of your heart, your mouth will speak. So be genuine, and that will really come out. So that is also connected to the first part. Your genuineness you will find when you listen to the Lord. Of course, listen to yourself and really observe people. Listen to others so that you can decide what it is that your message should be.
Okay, wow, wonderful tips. Really, really good. So you mentioned workshops. Now, so if our viewers, our listeners would want to attend these workshops, like how do they contact you?
Well, we have a Facebook page called Anxiety and Public Speaking. So you can go to that and ask to be a member, but I have a couple of questions, and if you don't answer it, I'm not accepting you. I'm not like Jesus. He accepts everybody. I don't. So answer them, please, okay? And nicely. And then you can join that group, and in that group, we make announcements. So I think that would be the best way. Like our Anxiety and Public Speaking, but just in case you are like anti-Facebook, and I know there are people who are anti-Facebook, where can people find us?
You can email us, brightspeaklsm@gmail.com. That's brightspeak.
Listen, speak, move.
Yeah,
LSM
stands for listen, speak, move. At gmail.com. So bright, speak.
Maliwanag na salita.
No, that's what I was going to ask. How do you say that in Tagalog?
Maliwanag na salita.
Okay. You know what? We have to end this already. I mean, I'm so sad because I'm having such a good time listening to everything that you have to
Having
share.
a good time with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. In fact, I want to include like one little itsy bitsy question. It's like
sure.
You mentioned anxiety. So now, especially with you, Joyce, since you're doing live shows now, no, with 700 Club, like when you are anxious, like what do you do? What do you do? Do you like fold the paper?
Ano na kasi, 700 Club na kasi is my family na. So meron na akong level of comfort. But in the first 4 or 5 weeks, I'm really like nervous, and I really really read the script. I prep. I read. Well, not that I don't do that now. I do that now, but with less anxiety, much less. Because family na I know the other hosts. I've been with them for, 5-6 years. Isa pa yun, yung constant exposure lessens fear. Just like if you're afraid of tarantulas, have one. Diba? Have one. Get one. Have a tarantula. And spend time with your tarantula, and you will never be afraid of it after a while. Same thing with, public speaking. You
try a little something.
Yeah.
Well, like
you
said, even
baby
on
steps
phone,
on your phone. Yeah. So now I'm less nervous, and it's really manageable na. Super. Well, ito one thing I always say, and this is not just for public speaking, this is for all anxiety and fear. Don't baby your fears.
Yes, and amen.
Because if you do, they will turn into adults. Kill them when they're little. Okay? Now, just in case your fears are already adults, they're big na, you cannot just kill them. Stop feeding them. Any creature, you don't give them food and water, after how many days, they will die. Okay? So, remember that. Ikaw lang naman ang nag-aalaga sa fears mo. Huwag kayong gagaya sa akin yung 11 years. Sinayang ko yun. Can you imagine? Batang-bata ako nun from age 16 plus 11. Those are very productive years, diba? Those are like
Yes.
some of the most productive years of your life. Ang daming nawala sa akin dahil nag-fear ako. Oh, my cute little baby fear. Oh, just, it's okay, baby fear. I'll take care of you. See, look what happened to me. Don't be like me. You kill that fear. The second, and this is a study that came out just most recently, a couple of weeks ago. I read it. The best time to deal with your anxiety is the first time it shows up. You nip it
Okay.
in the bud. Don't let it grow. There.
Okay, wow. All right. Okay, Gigi?
Yeah, for our last question, what your advice or what can you say to our viewers in order for them to experience breakthrough in public speaking, especially mga aspiring public speakers po?
I think that was...
Well, apart from what I just told you about killing your fears, nip it at the bud. I want to encourage you to really explore. Even if you have no dreams of becoming a public speaker, develop your communication skills. In my case, as a communicator, as a person, I'm a voice talent. I record commercials. I host. Public speaking has been, my way of earning. And today, I do not need to slave away for long hours making someone else rich. These days, I only work for 5 hours a week. And the rest of the time, I'm with Ron, with my dogs. I'm sleeping 8 hours a night. I cook. I go to the grocery myself. I shop. I travel. I exercise. I take care of the house, whatever plans we have. And the most important thing is our adventure, Ron and I, our adventure, which is serving God, not just in one ministry, but in various multiple ministries. And all the communication skills we have been able to use in our ministry. So, if you can get to that point where you can master the basic skills of communication, you're going to discover a lot of, at work, you're going to be, ano yung pag napopromote ka?
Yeah, you get promotion, a lot of advancement.
Yeah, you will get
A lot of
promoted.
advancement.
You get advancement. Eventually, you can be the master of your own time. Of course, we know God is the ultimate master of your own time. But you have more control over your time. You will be able to say, no, I don't want to do all that work because I have other more important things to do. So if you have that kind of power because you harness your communication skills and you're able to do a lot because you know how to communicate, it will free you up to do that adventure. For me, it's an adventure, serving God, doing ministry. It's a beautiful adventure. And so if you can just master that skill.
We often underestimate the power of the word. Our spoken when we talk about, say, the words we speak. And then we say that we know that as Christians that the word is powerful. And yet we don't practice that ourselves in terms of the actual spoken word. And yet God, whose image we were made in, powers the whole everything with just the word he created with just the word, right? He spoke and then it was. And we tend to underestimate the power of our words, whether we speak them flippantly or we don't speak them enough. For Joyce and I, we believe that each of us has been given a message. Sure, we all have that gospel message to deliver, but there's no one who can share the message that God has deposited in your heart the way you can. He's made you specifically for, a specific, to be a messenger for a specific purpose and a specific time and a specific group of people. And as I said earlier, you need to do your best to make sure that that message gets across. And for that reason alone, communication skills are extremely important. Because how can you share that message clearly if you don't have the skills to do it. And believe me, you do have the skills because God has created you with that purpose. So it's, instead of going around saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, God has given you and prepared you for those words in advance. In advance. So you need to go seek out ways to cultivate and develop those skills so that you can do the part of being the messenger that God purposed you to be.
Amen.
Wow.
He's
That's a
so
lot of
good.
wisdom.
Yes.
Yes.
Beauty queen, beauty queen answer. Good. I'm so proud of my husband.
Wow, that's so wonderful seeing his role in your life too, Joyce. And grab it the wisdom. It's a match made in heaven, no, Gigi? Ron and Joyce.
Super perfect. They complement each other.
Yeah. I think the next time if we have like this wedding or romance kind of topic, we should consider having the two of you as our guests again.
Ron and I have been thinking of doing a couples communication workshop. A fun one, okay? Of course, spiritual, God, God has to be there naman. But to really make it something fun and enjoyable, for husbands and wives so that they can speak to each other and communicate better.
Wow.
One day.
Well,
araw.
yeah, well, we can't wait for more info about that later on. So to everyone watching, everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed this. Such a splendid time with Ron and Joyce. So yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sir Ron and Miss
Thank you,
Joyce.
One
God
Voice.
bless
We
you.
love you.
Bye.
We love you too.
Thank you so much.
Bye. All right, now that was a lot of laughter. Wouldn't you say
Lessons
so?
and wisdom.
Yes, wisdom, seriousness, and yet the fun of it all, the fun of making cuento
Yeah.
with the people who are at the mentor level of public speaking. I love what Joyce mentioned. The one about, she said a lot, no? But I love the part where she says, "Don't baby your fears."
Yeah. I actually tweeted it on my Twitter account. Don't let your fears grow. Face it. That's really good.
Yeah, and expose yourself. How can you grow if you don't expose yourself to public speaking opportunities? And it starts with home. Huh?
Yeah, I also love that part that part that she said, because sometimes it is the people that we're most familiar with that we're having a hard time opening up to, which is our family, right?
Yes. So you know what? While we let everything sink in, because that's a lot, and not just with the talk of Joyce and Ron and Joyce, but also the one with Darin, the interview with Darin. So many things to pick up. And one of the tips that Joyce and Ron left us with had to do with pray. Pray out loud. And
That's also one of the things that I love. Like, be real, be honest, and be expressive in talking to God. Like, why not, right?
Yeah. And he is the greatest communicator. If you lack something, if you lack wisdom in this area, go to him. So you know what? Let's take this time to pray. Yeah. And if you are someone who wants to be an effective public speaker, we can ask God now. Yeah. All right. So let's pray. Father, we thank you. We thank you so much that you are the best teacher. You are the best communicator. And since ancient times, Lord, you have spoken to your people. And God, this faculty of speaking, Lord, the mouths that you have given us, Lord, we want to use them for you. So God, we thank you that you know how best to teach us how to speak for you. And we don't want to be afraid. Even now, God, we just lay our fears at your feet. And God, we exchange these fears for courage, the courage that only comes from you. We are not ashamed of you. Thank you, God. Thank you. So we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Whew. So you know what, guys? We've come to that part, the end of our program, Joyce. But before we say goodbye, here's what I know a lot of you have been waiting for this, especially since we have been sharing posters on
Yeah.
Facebook. And we did mention this at the start of our program that we will be raffling away 4 sets of John Maxwell's books. So, Joyce, can you tell us about that?
Okay, so this is my favorite part of the program. Again, if the tables were turned and I'm the one on the other side of the screen, I definitely take this opportunity because I love reading books, especially since the books that we will be giving away are books are leadership books by John Maxwell. So
Yoo-hoo!
I know that you guys know him. Apart
Yes.
from him being a Christian, he's actually a world-renowned speaker about being a leader. You know.
Yes, and one good thing about being a leader is that you get to polish the craft of public speaking. Now you have a crowd to lead, a crowd to inspire, or at least your team. That's still a crowd.
Yeah.
One person crowd. Okay.
But for him, it's not just a one-person crowd. I mean, he's been talking to a lot of people, a lot of seminars. He's been, flying all over the world. Has a lot of best-selling books. Okay, so the books that we will be giving away today are actually translated into Tagalog by OMF Literature. Okay.
So thank
So-
you, OMF.
Yeah. So these are the 4 books that we will be giving away today. At the start of the program earlier, so sinabi ko na po that the first person to share the stream on the 4 platforms where we are streaming, One Voice Magazine, UCAP Radio, TBN Asia, and TBN Philippines will receive each of the books or 1 book each, okay? So these are the 4 books. Attitude 101, mga dapat malaman ng bawat leader. Relationship 101, mga dapat malaman pa rin ng bawat leader. And Self-Improvement 101 and Success 101. So this talks about 4 different books. 1 is about attitude, 2nd is about relationship, 3rd is about self-improvement, and 4th is about success. But all the inclusions is about what you need to know about these 4 things as a leader.
Okay, so guys, as Joyce mentioned, she will be looking at the shares, no? We have our laptops in front of us,
Yeah.
so we can actually check. I can also check, no? Although, I don't know how to... Okay, anyway, Joyce, it's nice being partnered with a younger millennial.
Okay, actually, so I'm looking at the One Voice page right now. Okay, to be honest, I'm like one of the first person to share on the One Voice page. But then again,
You
I
cannot get it.
I'm the co-host, guys, and it breaks my heart. No, it doesn't break my heart because I know that whoever will win this is well deserved. Okay, so for the One Voice page, okay, it says here that there's 6 shares, but I'm only seeing 6. I think Ate Janina will have a better view since on her end. Yeah.
I'll just press this.
Yeah, you press that and then you would see all the people who shared it and the time that they shared it, so you would know who's the first one.
Okay, so I'm looking for the one who shared it
First.
first. Okay, the very first person who shared our program is actually Iggy. Iggy Zafeb, and he's from the team.
Ain't that funny?
All right, you know what, Iggy? Yeah. Okay, we'll just we'll allow for this one.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, just this one, but no more from the team.
All right.
No more.
Well,
Okay.
then, for the UCAP Radio, the first sharer is Miss Maria Teresa Alcance Guevanya. Okay? And it's actually funny because she's also the first sharer for the TBN Asia and Philippines page.
Ah, fantastic person.
So
Thank
we
you.
can actually look at the other sharers at because I'm at the UCAP page right now and it says that there's like 17 shares. So we can probably choose other people who shared it, right? Ate Jan?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we have Iggy Zafe, we have Miss Maria Teresa Alcance Gavanya, and Mr. Yuan John Mark Kiblat. Okay?
Okay. We have to take note of these people.
Take note of that.
Okay, yes. All right. So those are 4 people already, Joyce? Or
No, we're
one
still
more?
missing one person.
Okay, one more. You know what? I think I'm going to change this the question for the last one. It's not going to
Okay.
be who shares, but can you please name one tip either by Darin or Ron and Joyce? place the tip in the comment section. So I can really read. We can read your comments. So, for example, by Victoria Peralta, who says, "Can't wait, balang araw." Okay, don't baby your fears. Pero if your fear is big na, stop feeding your fear. Okay. All right. So tip. Even for the UCAP Radio page and
Looking into it
TBN
right
Asia
now.
page. Yes. Okay, so please give us tips. Then you will be... Okay. Okay, here we have some... Okay. Although, I think you mentioned her name already. Maria Teresa Alcance Gavania.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So someone else, or else she'll be getting two. But thank you, Maria Teresa. I love that you are engaging with us.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so she says, learn to expose yourself, and it is okay to have baby steps. Yeah. All right, so waiting. Okay. Any more? So again, tips. We're waiting for tips that you picked up from either Darin's interview or Ron and Joyce's interview. So tips on how to develop your public speaking skills.
I'm actually still looking at the UCAP's page, TBN Asia and TBN Philippines. So we have viewers, but they're not commenting. I mean, if I'm the one viewing this, I would have been a keyboard warrior by now.
All right. Anyway, we're not going to force things, and time is ticking away. So we're going to stop here, but at least we already have 3. Yes. Okay. We have 3 winners. So congratulations to you winners. You will be contacted. Yes. You know what? I'm going to play with this a bit. Yes. Is it coming out? Yes.
Now I feel like a DJ.
Okay. So for those of you who have been watching our episodes, this is actually the first time we're doing this here with this. You know. So there is this happiness in using the equipment.
And
So
figuring-
thank you, UCAP
figuring it
Radio.
out.
Yeah. All right. So we hope you enjoyed today's episode on breakthrough in public speaking. Again, One Voice Radio is the broadcast arm of One Voice Magazine, which you can easily find online at onevoicemagazine.com.
And One Voice Radio, in partnership with UCAP Radio and TBN Asia, with media partner Light TV and OMF Literature as one of our sponsors, is streaming on our Facebook page, that One Voice Magazine, and again on UCAP's page and the Facebook pages of TBN Asia, which is TBN Asia and TBN Philippines. And you can also find us on Instagram at One Voice Magazine. So go ahead and follow us, guys. And you can also find us on YouTube at What Mag Inc. Also, One Voice Magazine has a group page on Facebook where we share what God is doing in our lives and in our society, and we invite you to be part of it.
One Voice Magazine and radio are very open to partnerships and advertisements for orgs, companies, and churches. If you'd like to know more about how to partner with us, please get in touch by emailing info@onevoicemagazine.com.
And we are currently running on donations. So if this radio program, okay, not just the radio program, if you've been to our website, if you've seen our
One
YouTube
Voice
channel,
Magazine.
yeah, and in some ways you have been blessed by what we are doing, okay, so and you want to give to One Voice Magazine and to One Voice Radio, well, you can financially support us through PayPal, through our PayPal account at give@onevoicemagazine.com or at paypal.me/onevoicemagazine.
Thank you very much for tuning in. We invite you to join us again next week as we tackle the topic breaking free from addiction. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
You light up the darkness and fill my heart with hope when my strength starts to fail me. In shame, you found me and clothed me in your love. By your grace I am free. So today when you hear his voice, harden not your heart. Come as you are into his presence and worship. Praise the name of the Lord our God, Jesus Messiah. With one voice we say,